You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. This is our post-match reaction to Aston Villa's 3-0 defeat at Stamford Bridge on Saturday. And first of all, it wasn't really a 3-0 defeat game, was it? I mean, first half in particular, I thought Villa were the better side. And if you take the game as result value only, 3-0 looks bad. But in the context of the performance, it's probably our best game of the season in many ways, if you're just talking about the first half. Ash, you were there. James, I know you're laughing. It's the same best performance of the season. I know it sounds silly when you lose 3-0, but first half we were very good. Ash, you were there. How did you see it, first of all, before we get stuck into the topics we've got coming up?
Yeah, that's exactly what Dean Smith said afterwards. That's our best performance of the season so far, and it ends in a 3-0 defeat. Thanks for coming, kind of thing. And yeah, that first half is incredible. I really going out on the front foot, squeezing Chelsea into mistakes. Ramsey McGinn, the highlights for me. It was bold, brash. It really was, wasn't it? And then just that I've just seen the ball back from Kovacic. It's a really clever ball, cute ball over the top. Lukaku does what he does best. And it's 1-0 and Villa chasing the towels after that. But they're still pressed. Watkins had a couple of good chances. Mendy saved twice, didn't he, from Tyrone Mings as well. And I think I seen the stat coming up on Sky Sports. I said touches in the opposition box. I think after 20 minutes, Villa had like 10 touches in Chelsea's box. It doesn't happen at the Stamford Bridge. It doesn't happen against Chelsea, champions of Europe. So for me, Villa proved the point. They can mix it with the best of them. I like the new system. Two up top, Ings and Watkins. That's going to come. Okay, it didn't quite come off at the weekend, but that'll come. Wing backs were fine. Midfield were standouts for me. I like Douglas Luiz's work as well. Just a mistake, wasn't it? I'm sure we'll come to Mings' mistake, and you give Chelsea a second, he's going to be game over. So a tough one to take, but lots of positives to build on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the Everton game now, Dan.
I think the first 10 or so minutes until Chelsea scored, it was a bit, to and fro. But once Chelsea scored, it was like Villa just found another level and then another level. I was really impressed actually with Jacob Ramsey. Yeah, me too. I don't expect to be saying that, but he seems to have come such a long way. He seems like he's got a real fire to kind of catch up on the lost time. Missed out on England duty, didn't he? England youth duty, and he missed out on the last Villa game as well. So I think he's looking to make up for missing that, and he was really good. If you look at the player he was up against, Sal, Jacob Ramsey versus it shouldn't even. It's a joke. He looked like he was like knocking around in school playground, Perry Beaches, like great ball, just racing past people. He wasn't he was there having a great time, and I think yellow card was deserved for him, but it really killed his game as well because he looked impressive physically, and then he had to take a more advanced role. If he could have done a bit of both, maybe we could have had a bit more, but. I'm sure we'll come on to the referee later. Probably the fairest yellow card he gave out of the day. I think it stunted him a little bit, and obviously it led to him coming off later, which was a bit of, it was deflating for Villa at that point. But yeah, it was a tough one to swallow. You can't argue with the goals at all, but you can argue with the fact that Villa played great football against a team that's verging on the elite and in their house as well. You've got to beat Chelsea, man. You've got to be at your best. And Villa weren't. They didn't even have Martinez or they didn't have Wendy. Bailey was on the bench. That's not even their best team or best formation, and that you play Chelsea off the park. But it's another moral victory, and we should be past that point now.
Well, yeah, you certainly can't gift them a goal, can you? You've got to be 10 out of 10 game, and Villa were. The first half were an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 were very good in that first half, but a cutting through ball to open scoring and a 97 million goal scorer puts a goal away. Like, shock horror, that's his job, isn't it? That's what they brought him to do. Then, as we say, we'll get onto the Mings thing later. Just on Ramsey quickly and McGinn, we were talking in a previous podcast about COVID and how that might affect them. Didn't affect them at all, did it? They were probably the two best players on the pitch.
You got to go back a couple of podcasts as well, and it was our midfield's not good enough. We need to spend £40 million. I think Jacob Ramsey could save Villa a fortune here. I did note down in pre-season he looked much bigger in stature. He's really a size now, like a boxer, like his old man kind of stature. He was gliding past Chelsea at the bridge, and that's going to build his confidence. He can go to Stamford Bridge and give Sal the runaround like he did, and that's going to bode well. So he backed up his Newcastle performance with another one at Chelsea. And let's see what he can do this season. Really good start from Ramsey. Likewise, McGinn. He's back to his best now. He always plays well at Stamford Bridge. And, I thought he was very good as well. So I don't know what fans will be thinking listening to this. A couple of weeks ago, the midfield wasn't good enough. I think Ramsey and McGinn have stepped up to the plate big time. And there's options in there now. Morgan Santon was back amongst the squad. So that's another option there. He will be like a new signing kind of thing, as cliche as that sounds. I like Douglas Luiz's work, I've said that. And they got Nakamba to come in for the games. Horses for courses, where Villa aren't expected to have too much of the ball. Nakamba can do what he does. So options there. And I think Jacob Ramsey, he could save Villa millions there, mate.
I don't imagine Jacob Ramsey will start 35, 38 Premier League games, to be honest. And I think if James Ward-Prowse was available for 35, 40 million in the summer just gone, he would be Villa's midfielder now and would be starting in there. But rather than settle for option D or option E and put 15 million on somebody else, they've trusted Jacob Ramsey and said, right, go and start games in the Premier League at your age. And he's done very well to him, to be fair. And a big part of that is John McGinn improving a lot from last season as well. So at the moment, that midfield does look a lot more improved than it was. And as you said, Ash, we were all panicking about it a few weeks ago. And at the moment, it's the least of our concerns, isn't it? 3-5-2. Surprised people. Patrick Rowe in our preview actually said, we should go with 3-5-2 and match Chelsea. And I said, Dean Smith won't change. What are you talking about, mate? And, absolutely proved wrong at 4:30 on Saturday evening. To be fair, the 3-5-2 worked very well, especially in that first half. I think Smith's got it. I know we've lost the game, but Smith's got it pretty spot on in the sense that he's matched Chelsea. He's changed his system, and if it's not for a clinical finisher up front, a very good goalkeeper for Chelsea at the back as well. Villa had some chances, and Mings' mistake. It could be a very different game we're talking about. However, 3-5-2 is that a long-term solution because how you fit Buendia, Bailey, Trezeguet, Traoré, or Ghazi, whichever of the wingers you want to pick, how you fit those two into that system. They don't go, do they? And Villa haven't spent 60 million's worth on Bailey and Buendia for them to be sub players.
That 3-5-2 is difficult because I think there's always going to be an element that revolves around the signing of Danny Ings and how we can, I guess, crowbar isn't the right word, but how you can fit him in because you don't spend the money and pay the player for them just to be an option. They've got to be the guy. So when you've got that and Ollie Watkins, it's always going to be a headache for Dean Smith. And I don't know if 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 or any kind of variation on a back three or back five is kind of the way to go forward, or if it was just situationally to match up with Chelsea. But in my opinion, it worked for almost everyone bar the player it was probably built around to fit in. He was Danny Ings.
Yeah.
He was really, really, really quiet. If you look at the kind of shot creating actions, kind of the involvement in the shooting, he was like non-existent. So he didn't make a shot at all. If you compare that with kind of Ollie Watkins, John McGinn, they made 4 each. Danny Ings didn't make one. He had a single shot. But what's really encouraging is Chelsea, their top player was Callum Hudson-Odoi in terms of the shots created. He had 4. Villa had 4 from 2 players and then 3 from Jacob Ramsey and 3 from Douglas Luiz. So everyone was getting involved, even Tyrone Mings with chance creation. People were getting involved. It's just the guy that it was built around, kind of. Not in the same sense of building the team around Jack Grealish, but that formation is clearly there to fit in a second striker or more of a deeper striker like Danny Ings, and his impact was negligible. And I don't know if we'll say that often about Danny Ings because he's already made a massive, massive impact for Villa so far. Yeah. But in a match where you needed a striker to score, it was a Watkins doing all that. And the guy who was, your creator, your scorer, the main guy, essentially isn't involved in any aspect bar pressing, which it's disappointing, but it's one you take on the chin, I think.
What did you make of that formation, Ash?
Yeah. James raised some good points about Danny Ings now. I'll be watching him closely in the upcoming weeks because he had 2 goals in 4 games. He's 1 in 2 already, but he hasn't done too much in terms of goal involvement. That ball's quick against Newcastle, basically won it, and moments of magic he's come up with. So, yeah, watch Danny Ings closely the next couple of weeks, see where he fits in. He might come out the team this weekend. We don't know. But yeah, the formation itself. And I asked Smith about trying to get in your Baileys and your Bertrand Traorés and how you're going to fit them in. He said it's horses for courses. He said he has the luxury to flip the system when he wants to now and to keep opposition guessing. He mentioned that as well. He said Tuchel expected him to play 2 6s like they always do, and they basically played 2 8s, pushed them right up, and Chelsea could deal with that. And I think McGinn made some telling comments as well. He said we targeted Saul, his first Premier League start. We targeted him, got really good success out of him, and then half time, what does Tuchel do? Brings on Jorginho. He steadies it down a little bit, and Chelsea win the game. So, yeah, it's going to be keep an eye on the tactics. It's going to be really intriguing to see how it pans out. I think Villa will switch systems quite a lot this season. I can see that happening. When Bailey came on against Chelsea, he came on centrally, which surprised me a little bit. He came on like central midfield kind of thing, a bit further forward. I thought, you're really going for it. But yeah, I was really impressed with Bailey. A lot of people said to me, I didn't see too much of him, but close. The press bench at Stamford Bridge really close to the pitch. Just his feet. I mean, he didn't give the ball away too many times. He's twisting Rudiger inside out. He made Alonso he really enjoyed himself in that half an hour he had. So I'm really, really excited about him. He could play as a 9, you know. Ings comes out, and Bailey could play up there. I've got no problems with that.
Yeah.
We said that before as well. So there's options are plenty, and it's down to the man who's paid the bucks to do so, Dean Smith, to find the right formula.
Well, one of the biggest criticisms that Dean Smith gets thrown at him over the last 3 years, pretty much, is an over reliance on Jack Grealish and an over reliance on one system.
Exactly that.
And we've not played the same way in any game this season so far, and we've went into a 3 at the back formation to match up a potential Premier League champion this season. Does show tactical flexibility from Smith. So, you know, in one essence, it's a good headache to have. How we're sitting here going, how do you fit Danny Ingsy and how do you fit Emery Buendia in and Leon Bailey? £90 million worth of signings this summer. But you've got to find a way to fit them in, because we've signed those players to replace Jack Grealish, and 2 of those 3 don't even play yesterday. I know Buendia is not available, but you know, again, he doesn't really fit into a 3-5-2 either. So again, it's a good headache for them to have, and I don't know whether it'll be as simple as playing a 4-3-3 at home and a 3 at the back system away, but having that flexibility to change it up is only a good thing for Villa, I'd assume.
Job now is to keep players happy as well, being in and out of the side, which I suspect they will be. But I think they're going to keep the opposition guessing, and they're going to try and outthink opposition managers and attack weaknesses. Everton this weekend as well. So, yeah, really interesting. I like the set piece angle as well. I studied the set pieces at the weekend. They're just causing mayhem in Chelsea box. Cash launching it in. They look for Ezri Konsa every single time from deep free kicks. McGinn was whipping in. Konsa got a lot of first contact. So, a bit unfortunate. But that double save for Mendy came from a set piece as well. And McGinn's corner is really interesting as well. He whips it straight at the keeper. And Mendy was flapping a little bit. So that set piece angle with Austin McPhee in now as well. I think Villa are keeping opposition teams guessing, kind of thing, and you don't know how they're going to play it. So yeah, you can see that works as well. And I think we need to get the best out of Ings and Watkins as well, which we tasked with Aaron Danks, the new striker coach.
So interesting to see kind of the same routine be brought up at set pieces, because I think Danny Murphy on Match of the Day went, you know, it's just them chucking it in, essentially, to paraphrase, just them chucking it into a box. But when you see it once, you know, it's just a thing, but you see over and over, it's, you know, looking for Konsa or looking for Mings to knock it down all the time, because they will, like, not 100% of the time, but they got really strong chances of beating people to the ball, and it's unstoppable. In essence, the only thing that stops it is kind of the chaos that follows after, which is the design of it, is to kind of break down that tactic. So it's really interesting to kind of see us commit to it, because can you really defend it? No, it defends itself almost in how the chances, you know, how up to luck it can be. But if you have to challenge Tyrone Mings or Ezri Konsa to a ball, do you win it? You know, it's really difficult.
It changes the way the defenders have to think as well, because one of the Chelsea guys just smashed it out for a throw-in early on, and I thought, we've got a long throw in our game now. That's as good as just whacking it out for a corner for no reason. So it's something else for them to think about, knowing that I can't just blast this out into the stands here, because Villa are dangerous from throw-ins as well.
I think it's better than a corner. Like, that's how I feel, because like a corner, I think it's underrated how hard a corner can be to take in the Premier League. Like, you've got to get it over the first guy, but enough dip, you know, it's got to curve away from the keeper. You can just like chuck it off someone's head, like, you know, and the angle's different. So I feel like Villa have got a real weapon, and we've said it before, but you know, it didn't come off against Chelsea, but it in a sense it did, because the threat that it provided and the chances it made, we were already making from open play as well. So, you know, there's a lot of positives to take there, like on and off the ball.
Yeah, we talk about small margins as football as well, don't we? If that's a small margin that wins you a game, then it's absolutely worth sticking with. And if one of those double saves from Mendy doesn't go in, and it's Villa that score on the 47th minute rather than Chelsea, and it goes 1-1, then maybe we're talking about a very different game. We'll talk about that 47th minute incident now with Tyrone Mings. It's been the big kind of subject on social media since the game. Mings has since come out on social media, and apologised for his sloppy back pass. First of all, before we get stuck into the actual technicalities of what he's done, did he need to apologise? Is that something he felt like he had to do?
No, not for me. He didn't do it on purpose, did he? So just unfortunate. He shouted his hands up. Asked Smith about that as well. How was Mings in the dressing room? He basically apologised to the lads as well. It happens in football, doesn't it? Ollie Watkins missed 2 chances. The one where he rounded him and he should have done better. No one speaks about that. And then because Mings messes up for a goal, the game's over, isn't it? So, yeah, for me, he doesn't need to apologise. Mings done. He's incredibly in the Villa shirt, isn't he? Over the last however long he's been there now. So that's fine on my behalf now.
It's very kind of black and white with Tyrone Mings, whether you're on his side or you're against him. It is what it feels like on social media anyway. And I'm obviously on the camp that I'm with Tyrone Mings here. I'm defending my club captain, essentially. Like, I'm not going to say, people have said, does he deserve to be dropped? Should he not be the captain anymore? How is he in England international? He's a liability. He's a joke. I don't agree with any of those kind of things. He's made a sloppy back pass and we conceded off the back of it. Ultimately, in a game we're already losing against Chelsea, which no one expected us to get anything out of anyway. I'm not using that as an excuse because, it still was poor. There's a difference between people abusing him, which I've seen on social media as well, and being able to criticise his performance or a mistake. But some of the things that you see written saying he's got a mistake in him every game, he's cost us so many points, he's made so many errors since in his time at Villa. I don't think any of that's true. It doesn't cost us points every game. He got an assist and a clean sheet against Newcastle 2 or 3 weeks ago. So he won us points.
Could have had the goal as well, yeah.
You know what I mean? So yes, I understand it was a mistake and it's frustrating, but I'm not going to pin it, us losing the game on one man who's now our captain and has done a lot of good for Villa. How did you assess the actual incident, James? Because again, I've seen people trying to excuse Tyrone Mings or saying, well, maybe Tuanzebe's pass wasn't great or Steer didn't come out as quick as Martinez might have. And they're all if buts and maybes. Yeah, maybe if you add all those together, maybe Martinez does come out quicker and deal with that, or Tuanzebe's pass is slightly better and onto Mings' stronger foot so he can take a touch earlier. It's little moments that maybe do change that incident, but ultimately Mings' pass was poor, it was sloppy, and that has led to a goal. Is that how you saw it, or were there all other things at play there?
No, it was. Look, it's a bad pass, but it wasn't designed in his head to be a bad pass. It was an instinctive pass. He's done it without essentially thinking. He's done it based on kind of the system that Villa have played, where you pass it back and that keeper's already rushing off his line. It's a new keeper. There's obviously the pass wasn't perfectly played to begin with. Nobody's reacted to it in the way they probably should have done. But then again, if they did, if Steer raced off his line quicker, would he have cleared it before Kovacic broke through? I don't think so. But the argument is there to be made that nobody reacts to a Mings mistake like Mings reacts to everyone else's mistakes. So, yeah, it's a bad pass. Sailed the game away for us. There's arguments to be made for all sorts of things, but it was that's the instance when it deflates, and Mings knows that. You see the reaction. He's already up in arms against himself about it. He's not pointing fingers. Nobody's pointing the finger at him. But then you see a situation kind of later on where Konsa's mugged off, like on the halfway line, like in no man's land. It's breaking through. Mings is the one covering the mistake. We don't have you don't have a stat for how many mistakes, like say how many times Emi Martinez has bailed out someone. You don't have a stat for that. You don't have a stat for how many times Konsa's bailed out Mings, how many times Mings has bailed out Konsa. But the proof is when Mings makes a mistake, he's usually the covering defender. He's usually the last man standing. If he makes a mistake, it's going to be worse than anyone else on the team because of the position he plays. But with me saying all that, that's not a justification of it. It's just kind of the explanation, the take. Maybe if Martinez is there, it's something they always do, and he knows he's already racing off his line to clear it. It's not a problem. It's something that's dangerous.
It's still under hit pass though. Even if Martinez has got to be on it to get onto it, it's still under hit it.
It's always going to be a problem with Villa playing like that, and it's always going to be a problem with Villa making mistakes across the pitch with them not being a non-elite team. Any sport, a team that isn't elite is going to make a lot of mistakes because of the teams they're playing against and the way, their ambitions. You're always going to make mistakes because of these ambitions. You can punt the ball all the time. You can play 4-4-2 and have the big man knock it down and play risk free. What does that like win you? The way Villa want to play is going to cause mistakes.
I saw a tweet saying that if Tyrone Mings doesn't make the odd mistake here and there, he wouldn't be playing for Villa.
I remember obviously writing with Ash on Villa like probably a year and a half ago, and you're talking John Stone's been bunged off to West Ham because he's not getting a game in because he's crap. And now, these English defenders, Harry Maguire, if you want to talk about mistakes, you can see compilations of Harry Maguire getting spun time after time in the same game by Mo Salah. These things happen, and it's just we might not be looking for them with the hyperfixation that we do on Tyrone Mings. Things happen. Tyrone Mings led the league in errors, depending on a certain definition of an error. It could be you miss a challenge or miss a header rather than underhit the pass back. So you can't excuse it, but errors happen all the time in English football because the game isn't set up for defenders to have a comfortable time. It's set up for attackers to run at them constantly. So attackers have never been better than they are now. They've never been as fast as they are now. They've never been as smart as they are now. That there's a lot going against being a defender. Doesn't excuse it, but it's really hard to do the job that a John Stones, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, or any centre back pairing in the Premier League does. But you saw it against Karen Wilson. Got pushed off, didn't play to the whistle. Always going to be concerns, mate. I don't know how you feel, though, Ash, about the whole thing.
I think Villa are a stronger team with Mings in it. Bottom line, seen that throughout lockdown. I think Courtney Hall's coming to the side against Palace, and Villa struggled. And against Brentford, Mings at the team. Tony was given space, wasn't he? He scored, so whose mistake was that? It's one of them, isn't it? For me, I think Mings is the leader. I think Villa need him in the side. Nine games out of 10. I think Mings is on point and he's really good. So no issues with me. It's a mistake. He'll learn from it. If the ball comes to him in that situation again, I think he'll know what to do this time.
The counter argument to that, sorry, Ash, to butt in, is that, and I'm trying to play the card of people that are against Mings here. I know that we haven't got the comments here with us. I can see people saying you're defending him too much, is what people say to the three of us because we're all Mings hitting here. So I'm trying to put Mings out, essentially, argument across. Yeah, they'll say that he doesn't learn from it and that he's done it a few times before. So that's his problem. The odd mistake is fine. We all make mistakes. We're all human. Us three will make a mistake on this podcast and the rest of our work day, and it's only 11 o'clock on Monday. Yeah. We're all normal people that make mistakes. The argument that people say is that he's made these mistakes before and hasn't learned from them. So is that the issue here, that he might make that again? And that's why people don't want him in the side.
I know we say it sailed the game away, but there's also an element where Villa just didn't score anyway. So you have to look at the stuff that's happening up front, and you could say, Villa are always in that game. Chances are they never ever score in that match. It wasn't looking likely. There's missing passes. I think Ings to Watkins. Yeah. There's chances that are not going to be recorded on an expected goals match because a shot didn't register. I think the most famous example is Gascoigne's slide. I forget when that was, but it is your clear-cut chance across the box, slides and misses it. It's not a shot. It's an open goal. It goes down as a massive expected goals register back in the day if the stat was recorded. But because it was a shot, because it wasn't a shot, it's not recorded as a chance. So you don't have any bar of that. So Villa had that happen a few times, not essentially missing an open goal, but you had the chances where if the ball had hit the feet and if a shot had taken, you were then dominating, and they were already making plenty of chances and they weren't taken. You heap pressure on your defense if you don't take chances. It's a team game. You can't. It's a whole fluid unit, and if they're not taking chances at the top, there's pressure going to be at the back essentially. So it goes swings and roundabouts. We spoke about Brentford a minute ago when Tyrone Mings went playing, and there was a mistake. Funnily enough, that isn't registered as an error in the stats chart where people are beating Tyrone Mings with. And fair play, you're using numbers to back it up. But the context is a clear error happened against Brentford, not recorded as an error. What's the definition of an error? Essentially,
what's the opposite of an error as well? What is there a stat that registers a Tyrone Mings nudges someone at a corner to put the strike off, getting a header away, and stops a goal that way. And I know that's a minor example, but that's not a stat that we register. So you can find things on both sides to say this is why he shouldn't be in the team, and this is why he should. Final word I want to get from you, Ash, and on this topic really, because I know that we're probably going to get too bogged down on it, is the words that come with these performances. That there's always a mistake in him. He's a liability, stuff like that. Is he a liability to Aston Villa?
Not at all, no.
Should he be dropped? Should he not be captain?
No, he's a pillar of strength for me, for the lads out there. You ask his teammates who go to the field with him, they want Mings with them. I think he's fine for me. I think this weekend against Everton, though, I think Dean Smith could bring in Courtney Horse, because he always brings Horse in in the games where he's expecting long balls. Your Burnleys against Chris Wood and Calvert-Lewin this weekend. Horse could come in. I think perhaps two
for Mings.
No, I think Mings sticks in there. I think he's like a lieutenant for Smith, isn't he? Tyrone Mings. I think he's well liked. He's favoured. He's a skipper, and his performances do dip. I think Smith will take him out the side. But it's up to Mings now to bounce back after that mistake and put in a commanding display. So yeah, I could see Horse coming in this weekend, perhaps Tuanzebe to go and try and stop Calvert-Lewin winning balls in the air. I can see that happening. I think Mings is a big part of Villa's set pieces going forward now as well. I think that Villa chuck all three centre halves in the box against Chelsea, so he's adding to his arsenal that way as well. So is Mings a liability? No, not for me. But from time to time, there was a rick. There's a rick in every player. Like James said, John Stone's got a rick in him, but and others, Maguire, the same. Defenders do have a mistake in them a lot of the time because they're under pressure and they're coming up against the best league and best strikers in the world. And I thought Villa defended okay at the Bridge. I mean, Lukaku had two shots. He scored two, obviously. Yeah. But they did nullify that threat when for large parts. I mean, they outshot Chelsea 18-12, was it? I mean, so they did all right in that respect, but just Lukaku's clinical edge and just that mistake killed the game. So I think Mings stays in the team this weekend, and there could be a change with Horse coming in.
I think the most important thing to be said is that he's not a liability because Villa weren't. The fates were completely conspiring against Aston Villa, against Chelsea. I get it when it happened against Fulham. It's happened a few times, hasn't it? But against Fulham, I think you saw the perfect reaction in Mings gives away the really silly goal, and then he is the complete inspiration for the comeback after that. So the mentality, you can't exchange what that brings to the team, but you also can't forgive the mistakes. They're always going to happen with the level kind of Villa and the player that they can buy and bring to the club. But you look at Chelsea and there's 3 mistakes committed by each member of that central defence in varying level of how horrendous that mistake is. You have Konza giving the ball away, it's covered. You have Tuanzebe being completely stood up by Lukaku. Whether that's a mistake is completely up for debate, but people say, could he have had more assistance? Was it a mistake on another defender or was it on Tuanzebe? Completely up for debate. And of course, you've got Mings passing back. But, you look at all these things and we can have the debate constantly, but at the end of the day, he's picked for England for a reason. He's picked for Aston Villa for a reason. And that's because people in these camps know a lot more than us about the type of player Tyrone Mings is and what he brings to a team. The kind of armchair analysis of defenders has never been brilliant. I mean, I wouldn't know how you would kind of judge them at the same standards as the England kind of data analysis or the Villa data analysis, because defensive metrics, to my eyes, are poor and they don't tell a story. Josh Onoma kind of led tackles for Villa in loads of games. What does that even say? What do you get from? Do you get that Josh Onoma's the best defender in the squad? You don't. You probably get that he loses the ball loads. So I don't know what you get. People say brought up Courtney Horse. He wins all the aerials. Man plays a game, and Villa have never looked poorer defensively because of the organisation.
Oh, and that's the again. I'm sorry to keep butting in.
That's all right.
The overreaction on social media, I tweeted saying, as soon as it happened, I was like, we're in for another night of Tyrone Mings slander then. and people are going, he deserves it. He doesn't. Let's just get that out of the way first of all. Deserves criticism of a back pass that was under him. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and excuse him and say, oh, he's a brilliant world-class defender, because he isn't. That was a mistake. I'm absolutely on board with that. I agree. It cost us points against Chelsea, potentially. As you said, James, we didn't even score. Does he deserve abuse online? Absolutely not. Does he deserve abuse in the stadium? Should he be dropped from the team? No. Should he be dropped as captain? No. Should he be dropped from England? Arguably not. That's a different story. I don't really care about England to a lesser extent. But I just don't agree with some of the stuff that will come off the back of this, that he should be dropped and that he's a liability and he's a joke and he should never be near the team, and stuff last night about, I was getting tweets about his mental health. Someone was tweeting me saying, oh, he must have missed his sports psychologist appointment last night. It's like, what are you talking about? I think that kind of thing doesn't go hand in hand with anything really, but he's made a mistake on the football pitch, and that's as far as it goes. You want him to bounce back from that. There doesn't need to be this big, massive witch hunt on the back of it.
We're not in control of Aston Villa's kind of selection and transfer policy. People like to think that we are, but if you get on Tyrone Mings' back, I don't think it will ever probably happen at Villa Park, but it's certainly happening on social media. If you get on his back, it's gonna start affecting not just him, but the Aston Villa camp. You've seen players Henry Lansbury and Amar Al-Ghazi completely sack off social media. And Al-Ghazi became like a really kind of integral part of the squad. Whilst they're in a Villa shirt, I think it's really important to back them, not avoid the criticism, but certainly not abuse them. I think
we've talked about it so many times now. It shouldn't even be a talking point.
The criticism has to be balanced and fair. If you're not, if you're hyper fixating on what Mings does, you're missing a lot. And that's not to say like everyone's committing the same amount of mistakes as Mings. It's just, it's really weird to see the reaction of Mings, and then people say, when you are against Mings, oh, you've opened your eyes, almost like you've taken, like, on the Matrix, like, and you've seen the other level. It's not. It's absolute bias and almost like a complete delusion to hyper fixate on a single player's mistakes, because it is 11 players, and that error isn't just a single moment. It's a lot of stuff kind of that's built up, from training, and the system is that back pass played and then under hit because of certain reasons. We don't know, but what we do know is we certainly shouldn't be going straight on social media and saying like really not just like, oh, that was crap and you were rubbish, like really awful stuff that you see. Like it does have an impact, mate.
And from a footballing perspective, I know you just said, Ash, about maybe Hawes could do a job against Everton. People saying, oh, get Courtney Hawes in there, drop Mings. You're talking about dropping your club captain for your fourth choice centre-back. From a footballing perspective, does that improve the side, playing Courtney Hawes instead of Tyrone Mings? I don't think it does.
Do you reckon Villa missed John Terry's impact this season? I think only four teams have conceded more than Villa so far for the 4 games. I can't see Villa getting close to 15 clean sheets this season based on their output already. So, Will Terry's departing be felt amongst your Mings' concerts and whatnot. And Shakespeare's the more defensive coach out of Smith's backroom team now. So it'd be interesting to see how they move forward with it. I think, like everyone, Mings needs to improve as well, and defensively, Villa needs to improve as well. So we'll see. But 4 centre halves at the club now. I think 2 of them did very well last season, didn't they? Mings and Konsa, part of that little triangle with Martinez as well. So we'll see. But for me, Mings stays in the team. I think his performances have been pretty sound to date, and you got to play well to keep your place, haven't you? That's the bottom line. If Mings has another rip this weekend, then question marks will be asked. But overall, I'm pretty happy with Mings this season, the way he started. But like you say, Dan, Horse could come in this weekend. We'll see.
Just to end then, somebody who didn't have a sound performance this weekend was the referee, Stuart Atwell, I think it was. Poor referees again. I don't want to keep bashing them on the podcast, because there was a game not long ago we had to mention the referee being poor. I think it was possibly on the Newcastle Brentford, I can't remember which. Me and Matt spoke about it. It's a terrible refereeing yesterday. It's just a lack of consistency. I can't get on board with some of the things that were yellow cards for Villa weren't yellow for Chelsea. I just don't know why we're dealing with these poor referees in the highest level of football at this point, or supposedly the best league in the world, and amateurish refereeing.
Yeah, Villa picked up 2 yellows in the first 30 minutes, and Jacob Ramsey absolutely was asking for it. So, you can't argue with that. But there were a few challenges on the other side that weren't picked up, and Villa's yellow cards, you got 2 in the first 30, and you got 2 in the last minute, and one of them was Matt Target berated like the referee.
Yeah,
like
saw what he said about him.
Yeah, you could see, and John McGinn to a lesser extent probably more so picked up the yellow for his reaction, probably rather than the challenge. But you know, the yellow for Ramsey absolutely deserved, but you can see how it was in Villa's thinking you had to take off Ramsey because he was probably in the manner of the play. He was more cautious than he started off the match, which was hampering the way he plays. Same with John McGinn. I mean, he didn't get the yellow card to the 90th minute, but if he picks up a yellow 60 minutes, it's going to hamper the way he plays. Chelsea didn't pick up a yellow into the 61st minute, which was Marcus Alonso, and by then, I'm not saying they should have had 3 or 4. They should have had a yellow before then because same type of challenges. Both teams were right, and both teams were very fair, but very aggressive and very rough. You know, the biggest foul again, you know, hands on from Jacob Ramsey, but it happens both sides, and it wasn't getting picked up, and it stunts the flow of the game negatively for Villa because they've got 2 players on the booking who are aggressive. You know, you've got Mings, Ramsey, who have to alter how they approach the game on a yellow, and it affects a lot of Villa's game plan. They managed without it, but Chelsea didn't have to worry about that. They didn't have to worry about anything. You know, the flow of the game went completely their way. Maybe it's something Villa have to learn. Maybe they have to go, right, we can't just play the way we want to all the time because of different referees. I don't know if that's right, but certainly it's a condition you probably need to adapt to. You probably can't be this team on the front foot on the press all the time if referees simply aren't going to let you play. It's not right, but you know, you suffer for it.
I was mentioning about the press bench at Chelsea, so close to the dugout. It was quite good watching Smith reacting to it or giving the full official loads.
Did he say anything about juggling balls this time?
No, he's less enough for that one. But,
I don't know if he even said that. I feel like he said something like it was a bit more like, you know, effing and blinding from the TV rather than what he said.
It was, yeah. He was on at the fourth official. He said like, what Chelsea manhandling Watkins all game. That's the same one and stuff like that. I think Rudiger was giving Ings loads as well. And Ings went to the line and said, watch that, yeah. So it was going on both sets. And in the end, like James says, McGinn and Target just had enough of it by the end of the bookings. And really frustrating one. Chelsea got a lot of favourable decisions, to say the least. So, yeah, Stuart Atwell was the man. And we'll see when he officiates Villa again, hopefully. Not in the too distant future.
It's Monday as we're recording this. We'll be doing some kind of Everton preview on Friday afternoon, I believe, before we kick off on Saturday evening at Villa Park. But just a quick one from the both of you. How did Villa bounce back from a 3-0 defeat? How do we go out there and try and beat Everton on Saturday?
Home fans behind you. You want to win your home games, don't you? Yeah, need to bounce back in style. Last home game was a bit of a damn squad, wasn't it, at Brentford? Didn't really play too well that day. So, yeah, they need to back it up. They've showed what they can do at the Bridge against a team that's going for the title this season. So why can't they do it against Everton and hopefully have more joy? They'll have more chances, I'm guessing so. And we'll see what the system is prior to kick-off. No doubt Smith will kick us all guessing. So we'll see what he goes with. And it'll be an intriguing watch. And like James said earlier in the podcast, obviously more of Danny Ings, get him involved a little bit more. Get the chances falling his way. And I'm sure he'll score. So yeah, we'll see. I think the squad's looking much healthier now. There's only Carney and Jaden Philogene-Badice that are sidelined at present. We'll see how their fitnesses are this week. Keenan Davis out till the end of the month and tries to go long term. But the squad's there now. Liam Bailey pushing for a start as well. Bertrand Traore back fit. So there's options there. So would you stick with that same 11, Dan, James? What would you?
Martinez.
I don't even know if he'll play I don't even know if he'll play a back three. It's all up in the air for once with Villa, which is really it's entertaining.
I think we'll go back to a 4-3-3 at home. I think Bailey will start, and I think Martinez will be back in there.
Yeah, who drops out? Ings.
It's really hard when you say it like that.
Yeah,
I feel like he's not gonna.
I know.
He scored 2 in the first 3, didn't he? So how do you drop him?
He didn't. It didn't really. It's not like he had a really, really poor performance against Chelsea. It's just like he just wasn't there.
Yeah,
like in it with it, and not unlike the previous game. So it's really hard. But I just don't see them dropping Ings because he's.
I think Watkins might play off Ings up front from the left and Bailey on the right. I think
you have Brendier coming back as well, don't you?
Yeah. So I don't know how you fit them all in. This is not our problem to solve, is it? It's a nice problem to have, and Villa have got options.
He made 5 changes at Chelsea. It's unheard of, Villa, isn't it? Really, 5 changes.
Don't make 5 changes in 4 games.
I saw a stat from Who Scored before the Chelsea game that Villa had used something like 22 players in the first 3 games, and it took us till like February to use that many players in the season prior. So, yeah, I don't know what that number's up to now, but that's a problem with the inconsistency, isn't it? And why Villa's results haven't been 4 wins out of 4 because we're not playing the same team in every game. That is a problem.
Hasn't been a settled side yet, has there? Been issues, and hopefully. Yeah. I wonder what I think Deesby's getting close to his strongest 11. I think he's getting closer. We've seen that at the weekend. So, but I think it will change it quite often this season. I really do. And like you say, I think opposition managers will be a bit thrown back from Villa when the two sides line up. So it bodes well. We'll see what they got the weekend.
Well, we'll call it a day there for this podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in on this Monday morning. Thanks to Ash and James for joining me to chat all things Chelsea. We'll be back on Friday with an Everton preview with one of the lads from the Liverpool Echo, I believe. And then, we'll react on Saturday evening when we get home from Villa Park to hopefully a big 3 points for Villa. So thanks very much for watching, and up the Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, up the Villa.